So yes, I'm proud to introduce Lupe Richards, the real Rosie the Riveters, and her daughter Irene.
Oh, dear me. I feel like an exhibit here. Before I go into my experience, my speech is based on my experience as a riveter, I would like to share with you the conditions first and what led me into it. To begin with, I lived through the Great Depression, and believe me, more than 10 years, and it was extremely difficult. But when the war was declared, and the government appealed for help from everyone, being that our soldiers, our men were sent to serve in the army or flown or shipped, whatever, and I felt that I just had to help. I was so patriotic, my goodness. I wanted to help. Being that they were shipped and flown, I'm gonna make the planes. I'm gonna help make the planes. I had no idea what made him to go into making planes. Oh, so anyway, after I made a simple application, and you got a thorough examination, physical examination, no pregnancies allowed, and so within a few days, I received the notice to report to such and such department. So I got there, and there was a group of us, maybe something like 20 or 30, something like that. And we were led into a particular place, I had no idea. This huge place, which used to be the hangar. I've learned there's plane hangars or what it was. And out of that place, this tremendous noise, my God, definite noise. I just said, oh my God, what did I get myself into? And so there was a woman out at the entrance outside with a folding table and a little chair, passing out cotton balls. So what the hell were cotton balls for? Well, they were supposed to plug our ears because this was definite noise. And I said, oh God, what did I get myself to? I'm not coming back tomorrow. I'm not going to forget it. I didn't feel very patriotic then because, I didn't feel many, I'm not coming back tomorrow. All this went in my mind in split seconds, arguing with myself. I'm not coming back tomorrow. I said, well, I'm thinking, well, what happened to commitment? What happened to you, patriot, you're a commitment, what happened? Oh, I'm not coming back. So, well, I'm arguing with myself. You're a quitter. You cannot quit. No, I'm not going to quit. So I went in, and they must have been a tremendous mistake somewhere. So I go in there, and they led me with a prop there, a metal prop, there was a wing there, and there was a woman already there, a middle-aged woman. I was still in my 20s, and there was a middle-aged woman there, and I walked in there, and we met, and I was so perplexed, dumbfounded. I didn't know what to say or what to do. And she was very puzzled too. She looked at me, and she must be I was so scared. And she said, I didn't know what to do. All the set up something, tools and things there. And she said, did you just come from the training school? What school? I said, didn't you just come with a group of trainees? They came there, they're being trained. They were trained and paid while they were being trained for about maybe 4 weeks. And then they would take you to do the actual job. You were practicing on the actual job, whatever you were going to do. So I said, what school? I said, well, didn't you just, all this group of people who come from the school? I said, I never even heard of any school. And she looked, of course, at the right time, being that she knew all the ins and outs of this whole situation, she should have immediately approached the supervisor and told him that I was in the wrong place. They would have sent me to school, and I wouldn't have suffered the way I did. So anyway, she was patient. She didn't do it. I didn't know what should have been done. She just very patient. She says, well, we go to the tool crib, and they'll give you a rivet gun and a little toolbox, and I'll tell you how to use them. Okay, so we go. The minute says, this is the rivet gun. I picked it up. They didn't know what I was doing. By mistake, I pressed the trigger. And said, I was scared the daylights out of me. God, yes. But she was patient. She said, well, you do this and this and that. Gradually, she started telling me. She started showing me what to do, what was entailed. One is riveting on top, the other one is bucking and bucking. There were two. The other one is bucking underneath with a long fluorescent light. And you would, with a steel bar, you buck the rivet. As it comes, it fastens the two skins. There were two skins. So anyway, I got the hang of the whole thing. And after several months, she took sick, and she quit. She went home. She just couldn't work anymore. And then I was taken to work with another woman, which was about my size, about my weight, from the Midwest. Very, very, very quiet and very intent on what she was doing. And we just hit it just right. We were about the same height, the same size, the same speed. We never had to one depending on the other. We knew what had to be done. Perfect teamwork. We speed it up in producing the wings, because some of the other pairs, women that they were kind of slow and didn't produce enough. We just went like that. So we earned the excellent spin, which we were very proud, of course. And we worked for quite some time, 3 years. We worked 3 years. And the conditions at home were not very, very harmonious. My mother did not care to help with the care of the children. She felt it was my responsibility, and I should stay home and take care of them. My husband didn't like the idea, because I had to get up. I had to get up at 4 and to walk about 3-4 blocks to catch the red car, which is a train, and it runs full speed in all directions of the city. And it was just good. That train was so wonderful. If that had kept that, we wouldn't have the jams of traffic we have now. Right. So anyway, I still felt so patriotic when at the entrance, they were playing these marches, no. Oh, I feel so proud of just punching away. Oh, my chest was just wanted to explode. I was so happy, so proud. So anyway, this is the way it went on. But like I say, and nobody at home was happy. My mother was very independent. She didn't care to be taking care of the children. My husband didn't like me to be getting up at 4, and in wintertime it's dark. It's dark. In order to get there to catch the train, I had to leave before 5. I had to catch the train at 5 o'clock. So, and he was working, he could help me with transportation because he had to work in defense also, but his job was in North Hollywood, and I had to go south to Long Beach. So, anyway, after 3 years, I had to quit. But before that, of course, we had, when the war was declared, there was the ration. Everything was rationed. The government had priority on all the raw materials to produce the cotton. You couldn't buy anything. You couldn't buy so many things you couldn't buy anymore. And the ration books there were certain colors you could buy meats or eggs or certain things were little coupons for it. So they would ration these books to each member of the family. So, also, since food was so scarce, we also maintained what we call the victory gardens. We raised chickens to eat and to raise and to have eggs. And talk about green. Grandfather had a green garden, lettuce and carrots and cabbage and everything. The backyard was full of chickens and gardens and everything. And those chickens, he hated those chickens because they come in big, his lettuce. So, like I say, 3 years of that. I just had to quit. Oh, they say, you talk about, they're so protective nowadays about everything. Because to begin with, we didn't have the convenience of the T-shirt. It's very convenient, the T-shirt. At that time, it would have been very convenient because we're not supposed to have any flying sleeves or shirt, shirt flying or the hair loose. They had to be tied up. And so, anyway, there were cables all over the floor, and pneumatic tubes all over. And there was this danger of falling, and really, we did have several serious accidents. But anyway, another thing I should remember, my crowning joy was when at lunchtime and the top pilots, the test pilots used to come and to test the planes. There go the test pilots. There goes my plane, my rivets are there. I cannot tell you how joy I felt.
What age were you when you became a riveter?
Oh, yeah, I was in my late 20s.
In the 30s.
Yeah, no, my late 20s. Yeah. But anyway.
What she looked like? That's what she
Oh my goodness, she shouldn't have done that.
Beautiful woman.
How long would it have taken to build one plane?
Well, the planes were not built by two individuals. There was the danger of what they call now the terrorists. In those times it was called sabotage. So parts of a plane, all the parts that makes a plane are separate by separate groups. That was so to eliminate anybody that would steal the planes, the building plane or the part itself. So there was nobody building a whole plane. It's difficult to say how long it would take because it was built in parts. Answer my question? Your question?
Be sure you stand.
Yes?
Speak up.
Yeah.
So you said that you worked on wings on the plane. Is that all you ever worked on? Like, did you just work on the wings of planes, or did you work on different parts?
Yeah, on one occasion, I went to help somebody else, and I worked on the panel that holds the instruments, which was a different operation, but it was just just the panel that holds the instruments. There I was just there very shortly. Mostly I worked on my wing that I worked the most were the wings of the bombers. We were going to get these guys, you know. We were going to bomb them. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. About how many wings did you make per day?
And well, like I already stated, you cannot say how long. They just say how many wings you say.
Yeah.
Well, our former station, the couple that were there, they were producing 2 wings. When my first partner, we got together, we went up to 6 wings. The 6 wings. We were really fast, really fast. Yes.
You mentioned a lot about being very patriotic and proud about doing this job. Do you feel that coming out of this experience, you've made a big mark in history, opening up work for women since that time?
Well, yes, because since we had previously lived through the Great Depression, and nobody had money. Nobody had money, no jobs, no money. So that's when the Dust Bowl too, the Okies came, and of course they got jobs, and of course many of the women stayed and worked. So I think it has caused women to keep their jobs, and or maybe some of them stayed in the industry of making planes or other mechanical things. Others, I don't know. So,
But you,
and
in answer to your question, my mother has said before that the women that went into defense work to work at that time, really many of them had not worked.
yeah,
But the call to duty, your patriotic duty,
Yeah.
and once they got that paycheck and knew, hey, we can make it on our own,
yeah,
they stayed on working.
yeah.
They were not about to go home and take care of hubby and babies anymore. I mean, they wanted the paycheck.
Yeah.
So, what did men think of the women working when you were Rosie the Riveter? Were they resentful, or was it
No.
more like everybody's just doing their
Well,
job
that's
for
right.
a common cause?
Everybody was supposed to pitch in, help. And there was anybody that was able-bodied was busy. Even elderly seniors were busy doing little simple little tasks, or even picking up rivets, pieces of metal, because you had to save everything. The women, the housewives, gave away all their cooking utensils. Anything that was made of aluminum had to be saved.
Well, it's interesting that my mother would mention that, because in 1939, I was born in 39. When you were a Rosie the Riveter in
Uh-huh.
43,
Yeah.
I was only about 3, 4,
Two.
something like that.
Yeah.
The recollections that I have as a child growing up at that time, we sensed that there was an excitement. I mentioned this to Chris, to one of the students earlier. There was an excitement in the air of something that was going on, but as a young child, you didn't really know what it was. I mean, if you would tell a 3 or 4-year-old, we're at war, huh? I mean, you don't know what that is. But I remember when we were a little bit older, I remember the Victory Gardens, and I remember going to nursery school. I remember having the little vegetable soup, and the biggest thing that I loved, you get in the front of the line for your tomato juice and your olive oil, and then I'd go back into the line again to get a second one. It wasn't olive oil, it was cod liver oil. I said, oh God, I'm really sick. But I mean, those little things that I remember. The Victory Garden, the chickens. When we were about 5 or 6, our job, my brother and I, our job was, you did not have butter in those days, or you couldn't get the butter. We had margarine. And it looked like a big slab of
White thing.
white lard is what it looked like. And there was a little tiny pill, a little round yellow pill, that you opened up, you put it in, and you squished it all up. And then you made a little block out of it, and that was the margarine.
There was-
That was one of our jobs.
There was the
as a
butter.
child. And also, we had to save the little aluminum wrappers from the gum.
That's
We
right.
peeled the back off real carefully, and we'd make these big balls of aluminum. That was for the war effort.
Yeah, and they also collected the cotton string,
Yes,
anything, because
Yeah.
the government appropriated everything. They were not making any twine or anything. What was left, that's what you got. What had been previously made. Otherwise, no new stuff.
The
Yeah.
blackout shades, I remember my dad as a warden on the block, and he'd wear his funny little helmet. And you'd hear these sirens go off, and he'd get up and he'd run up and down the block, close the shades. We had black shades. Everybody had
Yeah,
black
it was the
shades.
danger of being bombed.
And you could not smoke. I remember that. My dad was not allowed, nobody could go out and smoke because they were afraid that you would see
The little light.
flame from the cigarette or the lighter or the match go off from up above. Of course, now you think about 30,000 feet, 20,000, whatever it was, but it was like, everybody close their shades, everybody be quiet. But I don't remember ever having to go to an air shelter, but anyway,
Yeah.
that's my impressions as a
It's-
child. Okay.
How many hours a week did you work and how much did you get paid?
Well, it depends. It depends what. The hours was like 6 hours, 8 hours, 6 hours, because it was more than that because they took in the lunch hour. We had a lunch hour.
How much did you get paid, Mom?
Well, it depends what you were doing. I was supposedly to be highest paid because I was a riveter and a bucker,
So what did you get paid?
and about $1.30 an hour. Big money,
It was.
big money.
Those days.
You seem to be really good at what you did. What was it like for when you had to go back home and you quit? What was it like reasserting yourself at home and readjusting?
After the,
No,
did you hear what she said? Did you have an adjustment after you finished that and then go home?
No, like I said before, I always worked. I always worked, and not every day, but temporary here, a few days here, there. Like I said, I was a certified photography colorist, and I also could sew very well. I would help the neighbor who was to be a seamstress. I would help there too, but nothing every day steady. But I never stayed just at home,
Yeah.
Yes.
Teacher.
Lupe, could you explain how you actually did the riveting? And I know you had to get your hands in underneath. And
Yeah.
Did you start at the end of the wing and move this way, or how did it work?
There were half of the way. There was really the panel here with the instruments, and I worked on the. Sometimes you would work on one side of the wing, other times on the other side of the wing. So it didn't make much difference, but you did still have to do the same job, riveting and bucking.
Could you explain riveting and bucking, how it worked?
Tell them about when you were assigned, when you were given the gun, which you said was like as tall
Oh
as you
my
were.
God, yeah,
And-
this
and-
huge thing was there, this huge riveting gun, it came up to my armpit to begin. That's when I pressed by accident, I pressed it and this just scared the daylights out of me, this brum. God. So my God, what did I get myself into? So anyway, they took me to the tool crib and they gave me a smaller one.
So explain what does
Oh,
the
well-
gun look like? Does it look like a drill?
You've seen it in the street, drum, 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 the same type of machine,
Like a jackhammer?
Yeah, like it's a miniature hand hammer. That's what it was, really. In the bucking, you have to be in between. There was a space. There was a space between in the hollow. This wing was hollow. There was a space, and you had a tube, a long light tube, a fluorescent tube. You had to move it and get under your partner was riveting on top. You could see the rivet come down, and you'd buck it. It was steel bar. You could buck it because that flattens the bottom of the rivet and holds the sheets together with three aluminum sheets.
Does it almost look, it sounds like, well, you know what a rivet looks like. It looks like the top of a hammer, of a nail, I guess. And the bottom part, when it's flattened out, would look almost like a grommet, I think. That round part of a grommet that you see. Am I right? That's what
it flattens the rivet. That's what holds the aluminum sheets. There were two of them, two skins, aluminum skins. Is it clear?
What do you mean by two skins? Do they go together like this, or
like that?
The wings or the skins?
The skins.
The skins, one on top of the other. The very top, the very aluminum top, which would be the outside, had already holes in them. And then when you riveted, when you drill, you had to drill. You would drill to another solid skin under it. So you, and then
one on top of the other?
Yeah, one on top of the other.
and just one last question. And do I understand the gasoline for planes was in the wings? The tanks were in the wings, or no?
No. There was a different procedure. You know, like I said before, nobody had a complete plane. They were just parts. And then, I don't know, big wings, I don't know how they put them together. They put it together. Yeah.
Okay.
You talk about having to reuse a lot of the aluminum and the strings and stuff. After the war, did it really rapidly change back to just a normal course of things, throwing away the aluminum, or did it kind of slowly come out of all the rationing and stuff?
Yeah, well, then we went the other extreme.
Yeah.
And we went to the other extreme. Then everybody just went crazy, you know. Oh, it's over now, no kidding. We can have a lot of things. You can have, you know, all kinds of things, new things, all kinds of new things. And the thing that I still have with my daughter is the toilet tissue. The toilet tissue, you know, everything was so fancy. The toilet tissue on the outside had colors, it made out of color. Can you imagine toilet paper with colors and flowers? You had flowers, all kinds of colors. But then you had, you know, the procedure of rolling under, you roll over, you roll under. So they just, you know, they rolled it over, but to show the designs, the colors and the flowers and all of that. So anyway, then it was discovered that a lot of people were allergic to the colors, to the dyes and the colors. So, you know, they got a bit of trouble behind there.
When the painting of Rosie the Riveter came out, what sense of emotion did you feel? Because I thought that'd be kind of cool if, you know,
¿Qué dice?
Riveter and you'd see yourself.
Well, I was proud, naturally. I was proud.
But of course, this is still the way I feel. You know, when you're through that generation that went through, you are given a great sense. My parents gave us some wonderful, wonderful lessons, and that is, I personally believe that my generation is the last generation to feel a sense of patriotism, more so of responsibility, accountability, making our life mean something. It disturbs me greatly when I see kids your age and even older, and it makes me feel like you kids need to learn to put away childish things. You are adults. When you have kids that are not kids, 23, 24 that are gang members. It's like, we had 17-year-old kids that were in the war, giving their lives. And it's like, I don't understand it. I really do not understand the mentality of what's going on with the younger generations, because as young children, we were not brought up that way. We were responsible for our actions and held accountable. Now it doesn't seem to be that way. It's not my fault, it's your fault. You didn't do it. I don't understand that.
Yeah, well,
After the war ended and the men came home and they wanted their jobs back, was there a lot of conflict between the men who wanted their jobs back?
You know.
well, they couldn't have them back. We had them. Women had them.
But I think if you've read the book by Tom Brokaw, The Greatest Generation,
Yeah.
he talks about that generation of young men, young sons, brothers, fathers that went off to war, and they came back from the war, and it was like, I don't understand how it's done. I mean, it's like you just got on with the business of living and picking up your life and getting on with it. I think
Well,
the war was very different, World War II, than it was probably with the warfare that is going on now, that is extremely difficult. How do you go to a land and you kill and you blow up and you do all of these things, and then you just come back to normal like nothing happened? But
no, it did take.
it's very difficult.
Sure.
But maybe they didn't talk about it as much. They just picked up their lives and went on with it.
Yeah.
Is there anything today that you've learned to appreciate more because of your experience back then?
I wouldn't say I'm disappointed in many ways, because I think back to the Great Depression. I think back how little we had and how much we had to endure. Like over 10 years, there's a long time to endure the necessities that we went through. And I see so much waste. And I'm really, sometimes I get angry and disappointed, and you know, I guess we're just humans, humankind. I don't know when we'll learn better.
What is the greatest challenge for you as a riveter?
So that was a challenge. What do you mean training school? What training school? So that was a challenge.
Okay, so when I called you, you called the school, and I got your number, and
Yeah,
I called you,
yeah.
and you were rather difficult. You didn't
Oh.
do public speaking, you were
Yeah.
a little grumpy with
Oh,
me.
yeah,
I
I
didn't
said-
think it was gonna happen, and then I got this wonderful packet from Irene, saying you wanted to do it. So what happened? How did it change?
Well, I don't know. It was a challenge, and I was a coward. I was feeling I was being a quitter. And you cannot be a quitter. You had a commitment. You got through with it.
And he's talking
So I
about
did.
how did you change your mind about coming here?
Oh well, because I feel sorry for you because you couldn't find a way. You couldn't.
Whatever it takes!
She couldn't find a riveter.
Well, thank you for feeling sorry for me.
Okay, this conclude my time.
No, he has a question.
Yes.
He has a question.
Where are you? Where are you?
Alex, go ahead.
We had a speaker the other day, or well, like yesterday, who said that she was German during the war, and she said that during the war she wasn't really informed much about what was happening. When you were working and stuff in the factory, or just as an American in general, did the government do a good job of informing you about what was happening with the war effort?
Well, we well knew it was public knowledge, you know. We were in the war. We were in war.
But I mean, were you aware what was happening, say, in Germany? Were you aware what was happening to the Jews?
Well, I knew offhand, but really I was not aware of many details. I was too busy building planes.
He has a question.
Where did they get all these factories? Did they just convert the factories?
Oh, everything was converted. Yeah, all these factories were converted. They were subcontractors.
Antonio.
What other jobs did women have other than making planes?
Oh, everything. Assembling food, assembling metal parts, everything. Everything you can think of.
Cartridges,
Yeah.
bullets.
Rolling bandages, I remember, yeah, rolling bandages.
Yeah,
Helping
even
taking care of children, yeah, soup kitchens.
Anything, everything.
I had a question. You talked about how there was a challenge of the children. It's obvious the children were small. What did you do with the children if your mom wouldn't take care of them and your husband was working? Were there daycare centers? Were there places that
not like they do now? No.
They just sprouted up.
Yeah.
They just sort of.
Yeah.
They just sprouted up from conversations that I've had with my mom. I mean, it was like those people that could not help in the war effort as she did. I mean, it was like, okay, fine, we'll take care of some of the children so these women can go out and do their job.
Yeah.
But I remember vaguely I remember my grandmother taking me to nursery school, taking my brother and I to nursery school, where we would stay and then we would be picked up in the evening.
Yeah.
My mom still feels guilty about it, and until very recently, I said, those were really the happiest times of my life, really. Because it was like an outing, we were with other children, I got my vegetable soup, my mashed potatoes, my gravy, and my tomato juice and cod liver oil, which is still my favorite things. My grandfather lived with us, we had the Victory Guard, my grandmother always lived with us. And it was a happy, wonderful time for me as a child. It was an exciting family unit. So, and there was a lot of housing. I remember we had a house, houses were converted. So it was like, so people would start living together, to save on the economy. Yeah. I think what we're going through right now.
Convert the house. Huge honor that we
Thank you for
found
serving.